The stars were quiet, but silence in space often meant something terrible. The Envoy ship from Earth floated like a silver arrow, carrying only one mission: peace. For months, humanity had sent messages of friendship to the Zorath Empire. The Council of Earth had chosen one of their best diplomats, an old man named Elias, known for calm words and steady eyes. His task was simple: to show that humans came not with warships, but with open hands. The galaxy was a dangerous place. Rumors said the Zorath burned entire colonies for refusing tribute, yet Earth believed peace was still possible. Elias had stepped onto their world with no weapons, only words of understanding. Cameras from dozens of alien races watched as he walked the stone steps of the Zorath Grand Hall. Billions across the stars tuned in to see if humanity's envoy would be welcomed or destroyed. At first, the silence of the Zorath throne room was heavy, like a storm waiting to strike. The Emperor sat high, his armor black and sharp, his eyes glowing like molten fire. Around him stood hundreds of alien warlords, their claws tapping the marble floor, their teeth clicking with hunger. Elias bowed and began to speak of peace, of trade, of respect between civilizations. His voice was calm, even when the hall trembled with alien laughter. For 5 long minutes the galaxy watched. His words were steady, his message simple. Earth wanted friendship, not war. But the Emperor's face twisted in cruel delight. Friendship. The Zorath ruler thundered, his voice echoing like a weapon. We do not need your peace. What we want. We will show the galaxy what happens to those who think humans are special. Before Elias could answer, the guards moved. Chains wrapped around him. The crowd roared. Across the galaxy, viewers gasped. Every race watched in horror, but no one dared to interfere. The Zorath dragged Elias outside to the great square where torches burned high. The camera drones followed, broadcasting every second. The Emperor raised his hand, and the words fell like poison. Burn him alive. The flames swallowed the human envoy as the galaxy watched. His last scream echoed through the stars, carried on every broadcast, burned into the memory of countless worlds. The Zorath cheered like animals, their victory clear. To them, had been humiliated. Humanity had been shown weak. But the galaxy forgot one thing. Humans never forgot, and they never forgave. When the news reached Earth, silence fell across the planet. In every city, in every home, people stopped to listen to the final cry of Elias, their envoy of peace. Some wept, some trembled in rage. Some, in the deep halls of Earth's hidden fleets, simply nodded because Earth had always prepared. For centuries, humans had studied war not because they loved it, but because they understood survival. The fleets that had been shadows in the void. The weapons that had slept beneath the oceans. The soldiers who had trained in silence all began to move. Elias had gone with words of peace. Now Earth would answer with fire, the Zorath thought burning. One man would break humanity. Instead, they had lit the fuse of something the galaxy had never seen. Something older than empires, stronger than fear. Earth's full power was awakening. The galaxy had watched a man burn. Soon, it would watch entire empires tremble. The day Earth received the burning of Elias, the world did not sleep. Screens across. The planet showed the envoy's last moments again and again. Children cried. Soldiers clenched their fists. Families held each other in silence. Humanity had sent a man of peace, and he had been murdered like an animal. On the second day, the United Earth Council met in the Great Chamber under the Atlantic. Generals, admirals, scientists, and leaders from every nation filled the hall. The room was quiet, but it was not the quiet of fear. It was the quiet of rage controlled, of patience ending. An old admiral rose, his uniform dark, his medals heavy. His voice was low, but every word carried like iron. They burned our envoy alive before the galaxy. If we do nothing, we will be prey forever. We act, we will show them what humanity truly is. The council voted. The choice was unanimous. Earth would answer. The order spread like fire. Deep beneath the oceans, sealed hangars cracked open as titans of metal stirred. Fleets that had been hidden from the galaxy for centuries rose from the waters, their hulls black as night there. engines glowing like suns. On the far side of the moon, vast shipyards that no alien knew existed came alive. Carriers, destroyers, dreadnoughts, and cruisers awakened, their crews already waiting. Millions of men and women trained for years in silence, now prepared for war. They were not afraid, they were ready. In the deserts of Mars, launch bays opened, and the red skies filled with fire. In the icy caves of Europa, hidden arsenals hummed, revealing weapons no other species had ever imagined. Humanity had planned for this day not because they wanted it, but because they knew it would come. The galaxy had thought Earth was weak, but Earth had been watching, learning, building. Word spread faster than light across the stars. Traders whispered of movement in the Sol system. Scouts spoke of shadows larger than moons rising from the oceans. The smaller races, the ones who lived under Zorath fear, began to hope. Could it be true? Could humans really fight back? In the Zorath capital, the Emperor laughed when he heard the rumors. To him, humans were just another primitive race. It had crushed 100 worlds. What could one planet do? His generals joined his laughter, their claws tapping against the war table. To them, humanity was only a noisy insect. But far away, in the corners of the galaxy, others did not laugh. Some shivered, some prayed. Some remembered history, the old stories of Earth's warriors, of battles fought long before humans had ever reached the stars. On the 10th day after Elias's death, the first human fleet left orbit. The sky above Earth was filled with warships, thousands of them, black and silent as they formed into lines that stretched across space. They did not roar. They did not taunt. They simply moved, steady and unbroken, like the tide of an ocean. Each ship carried a name from Earth's long past, names of battles, of heroes, of legends. Names like Thermopylae, Gettysburg, Stalingrad, Midway. The galaxy did not understand, but humans did. Every name was a promise. Every ship was a memory of survival, carved into steel and fire. The admiral of the first fleet spoke only one line before the fleet jumped into the void. They burned one man. Now we will burn their empire. The galaxy felt the tremor as the human armada vanished into the stars. No one could stop what was coming. The Zoroth had wanted to make an example. They had succeeded. But not the way they had hoped. For the first time, the galaxy would see humanity not as peaceful diplomats, not as frightened newcomers, but as something far more dangerous. A storm had been unleashed, and it was moving straight toward the Zoroth homeworld. The void between stars was never truly empty. Shadows moved there, whispers of power carried in silence. On the 15th day after Elias's burning, the human fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Zorath territory. They did not come quietly. Hundreds of black warships appeared in formation, their hulls glowing faintly with blue fire. The flagship Un's Vengeance led the armada, size greater than anything the Zoroth had ever seen. The first Zoroth scouts found them. Their ships were smaller, fast and cruel, shaped like blades of obsidian. The scouts laughed, for they saw only one fleet. To them, humans were foolish to enter Zoroth's space with so few numbers. They did not know Earth had sent only its first wave. The Zoroth commander hailed the human flagship. His voice was sharp and mocking. "You dare step into our territory, little mammals? You will kneel before the Empire, or you will die screaming." The reply from the human admiral was calm, steady, and cold. "You burned our envoy alive. We are here to collect the debt." Zoroth laughed and gave the order. Dozens of warships surged forward, weapons glowing red. They moved like hunters who had cornered their prey, but the humans did not move. The fleet held position, silent and still. To the Zoroth, it looked like fear. But inside every human ship, men and women waited, hands steady on controls, eyes fixed on the enemy. The silence was not fear, it was discipline. When the Zoroth came within range, the first human volley was fired. It was not the blazing chaos the aliens expected. Instead, it was precise, calculated, merciless, Blue lances of energy tore through the void. Rail cannons spat tungsten rods faster than light. Missiles split apart mid-flight, scattering into swarms of intelligent warheads. In seconds, 5 Zorath cruisers vanished into fire. Their armor cracked like glass. Their engines split open like fruit. The Zorath laughed no longer. Their commander roared in panic, ordering the fleet to scatter and attack from all sides. But it was too late. Humanity's tactics were unlike anything they had seen before. The humans did not fight with pride. They did not fight with rage. They fought with patience, with planning, with cold precision born of centuries of war on Earth. Every Zorath maneuver had already been studied. Every formation had already been predicted. The human fleet moved as one, ships covering one another, weapons firing in perfect rhythm. The battle lasted only 20 minutes. When it ended, the void was filled with burning wreckage. Hundreds of Zorath ships were gone. Not a single human vessel had fallen. The galaxy was watching. Hidden drones, smugglers, spies, and distant colonies all had eyes on the battle. For the first time, the galaxy saw something terrifying. The Zoraths were not invincible, and humanity was not weak. On the bridge of the Un's vengeance, the admiral looked out at the drifting ruins of the Zorath fleet. His voice was steady as he gave the next order. Send a message to their emperor. Tell him this was only the beginning. The message spread faster than the flames of battle. Across the galaxy, oppressed worlds whispered in awe. Some cheered in secret. Some dared to hope. And some trembled, for if humans could do this to the Zorath, what else were they capable of? On the Zorath homeworld, the Emperor watched the battle report in silence. His laughter was gone. His claws dug into the arm of his throne. Rage burned in his eyes, but beneath the rage was something far worse doubt. For centuries, no one had challenged his empire. Now, in only one battle, the humans had shattered that illusion, and they were not done, because Earth had not yet sent its full strength. This was only the first fleet. The first blow. The first step in a war that would shake the galaxy. The humans had waited. The humans had prepared. And now, the storm was only beginning. The galaxy trembled after the first human strike. News of the battle spread faster than fire in dry grass. In secret bars, in slave camps, in the marketplaces of 100 worlds, whispers began. They destroyed a whole Zorath fleet. Humans faced them and did not fall. Maybe the Empire can bleed. For centuries, the Zorath had ruled through fear. They crushed rebellions before they began. They burned cities, enslaved entire species, and silenced all hope. But hope is like a seed, it waits in the dark until the right moment. And now, with one human victory, seeds everywhere began to grow. On the planet Kryn, where miners were forced to dig until death, the workers gathered in the tunnels. For the first time in living memory, they dared to speak openly. If humans can fight, maybe we can too. Their voices shook, but they were no longer silent. On the world of Draelos, where children were taken as tribute to the Zorath, mothers held their sons and daughters close. For the first time, they told them stories not of survival, but of rebellion. And on the great trade routes, merchants smiled in secret. If the Zorath fell, they would no longer pay endless tribute. Profit and freedom would both return. But not everyone was hopeful. Some species feared what humanity's rise would mean. A new power might be as dangerous as the old. The Council of Stars, a gathering of neutral races, met in secrecy. Some argued to ally with humans. Others warned that humans were even more dangerous than the Zorath. No decision was reached, but all agreed on one thing: the balance of the galaxy had shifted. Meanwhile, in Zorath space, rage consumed the Emperor. His throne room echoed with his voice as he roared at his generals. "You let apes destroy my fleet? You let insects shame the Empire?" The generals bowed low, trembling. None dared to speak. Emperor's claws slashed the air. Mobilize. Everything, burn their colonies. Erase their fleets. I want Sol System turned to ash. Orders spread across the Empire. Billions of soldiers prepared for war. Shipyards forged new weapons. Slave worlds were forced to build fleets faster than ever before. The Emperor would not rest until humanity was crushed. But the humans had expected this. In the Sol system, Earth was already moving. More fleets left orbit. Carriers rose from the oceans. Orbital platforms armed themselves. The skies of Mars turned red with launches. On Titan, massive engines hummed as dreadnoughts awakened. Humanity did not wait for war. To come, they carried it forward. Still, they were not reckless. The Council of Earth knew they could not win by strength alone. The Zorith were vast, their empire stretching across thousands of systems. Humanity needed allies. And so, while fleets prepared, envoys moved in secret. Human agents traveled too. Enslaved worlds, speaking not with words of peace, but with promises of steel. "Rise with us," they said. "Fight with us, and you will be free." Some listened, some doubted. But all remembered Elias the Envoy, who burned before the galaxy. His death was a spark that would not die. On one hidden world, a meeting was held in the deep caves of the Rakari people. For generations, they had lived under Zoroth chains. Their leader, scarred and old, spoke slowly as he looked at the human envoy. "The Zoroth crushed us for centuries. They broke our cities. They broke our pride. And now you ask us to rise again?" Human envoy's reply was simple. "We do not ask. We promise. Fight with us, and we will never leave you behind." The old Rakari warrior was silent for a long time. Then he raised his hand, and the crowd of his people answered with a roar that shook the stone walls. Hope had found them. The galaxy watched. In silence, as storm clouds gathered, the Zorith believed themselves unbreakable. Humanity had shown the first crack. Now, enslaved races whispered, merchants waited, and even neutral powers grew restless. War was no longer coming. War was here, and deep inside the Emperor's palace, though rage burned in his heart, a shadow of doubt gnawed at him. He had made a mistake. By burning one human, he had awakened an enemy unlike any the galaxy had ever faced. The storm was rising, and this time the galaxy would not look away. The Zorith Emperor was furious, and fury always needed blood. He ordered his warlords to strike at humanity's colonies. If Earth wanted war, then the Empire would make them pay in fire. The first target was New Carthage, a young colony on the edge of human space. It was a rich world of green fields and silver oceans, with only 2 million settlers. To the Zorith, it seemed weak and undefended. A perfect example to break humanity's spirit. The Zorith fleet arrived like a storm. Warships emerged from hyperspace, their black holes glowing red with weapons hot and ready. The commander smiled with cruel delight. "We will burn them as we burned their envoy," he said. "The galaxy will see their weakness again." The colony panicked. Families ran into shelters. Alarms screamed. Children cried as the sky filled with shadows of enemy ships. The settlers feared the worst death: fire, slavery. But Earth had not left its children unguarded. From beneath the oceans of New Carthage, massive structures rose. Hidden bunkers opened, and the ground itself shifted. Towers unfolded, glowing with strange blue light. The Zorith laughed when they saw it. Defense towers? Human tricks? They will fall in minutes. Then the first shot was fired. A beam of light, faster than thought, tore through the sky and split a Zorith cruiser in half. The wreck burned as it fell into the ocean. The laughter of the Zoroth stopped. The second volley came from the human fleet that appeared behind them. Out of the void, 20 warships emerged in perfect formation. Their hulls painted black with the names of Earth's ancient battles. The flagship Un's Defiance led the charge. The Zorith were trapped. They had expected an easy raid. Instead, they had walked into a kill zone, Human weapons spoke with precision. Rail cannons cut through enemy shields. Missile swarms broke formations apart. Automated defense platforms filled the void with deadly fire. The colony itself fought like a fortress. The Zorath fought back with rage. Their ships screamed forward, claws of fire slashing across the void, but they had lost the element of surprise. The humans had studied their tactics, had prepared for their attacks. One by one, Zorath's ships exploded, their debris raining down across the sky. The settlers watching from bunkers saw the night light up with burning wreckage. Fear turned into something new hope. On the bridge of the Defiance, Admiral Rhea stood tall, his voice calm as he gave orders. Hold the line. No Zorath ship leaves this system alive. Humans did not fight to survive. They fought to send a message. When the last Zorath ship tried to retreat, its engines flared bright in panic. But a single rail shot from the colonies. Defense cannon tore it apart. Silence followed. The battle was over. The people of New Carthage walked out of their shelters. They looked up at the sky, where burning wrecks still drifted, glowing like falling stars. They cheered, voices echoing across the plains and oceans. They had survived. No more than survived, they had won. The message spread across the stars. The Zorath had tried to destroy a human colony. Instead, they had lost an entire fleet. Across the galaxy, the oppressed races whispered louder. The humans were not only strong in space, they defended their own like no empire had ever done. No colony would be left behind, no people abandoned. On the Zorath homeworld, the Emperor's rage shook the palace. His claws cracked the throne as he tore the report apart. Fools. They cannot defeat us. They are only insects. But deep in his heart, fear coiled like a snake. The humans had not only fought back, they had humiliated him twice before the galaxy. And still, this was not Earth's full strength. For every fleet the Zorath sent, humans had another waiting. For every strike, there was a counterstrike. Humanity was not just fighting a war. Humanity was teaching the galaxy a lesson. Burn one of us, and we will burn your empire. The war was no longer about a single envoy. It was about survival, about justice, about showing the stars what it meant to fight humanity. And humanity was only getting started. The fall of the Zorath fleet and New Carthage shook the galaxy. No one had ever seen the Empire bleed so openly, so painfully. And yet humanity had done it twice. But Earth was not satisfied with defense. Humanity had always learned that the best way to end a threat was not to wait, but to strike first. The next phase of the war began quietly. Human fleets split into smaller groups and entered. Zorath spaced through hidden routes. They did not attack cities or fortresses first. Instead, they struck at the chains of the Empire, the slave worlds. The first target was Corin, a mining planet where millions of the insect-like Variks worked under whips and chains. For centuries, the Variks had never raised their eyes to the sky. They believed no one would ever come for them until the humans arrived. The sky of Corin lit up with fire as human warships descended. Zorath overseers screamed orders, their troops rushing to control the mines. But before they could act, human dropships thundered down. Soldiers in black armor stormed the camps, their rifles precise, their movements unstoppable. The Variks watched in silence, not believing what they saw. Humans were cutting through Zorath guards like they were nothing. The whips fell silent. The overseers fell dead. The chains cracked open. A human officer stood before the Variks. His voice amplified across the mines. You are free. No, Zorath. We'll own you again. Fight with us, and we will fight for you. The Variks trembled. Then, for the first time in history, they raised their arms in defiance. Their screeches filled the sky as they swarmed over the last Zorath guards. The chains of Corin were broken. The same story repeated again and again. On the water world of Trellin, the amphibious Rill were freed from slave pens. On the desert world of Ashtar, the reptilian Drakari were given weapons for the first time. In centuries, everywhere the humans went, they did not conquer, they liberated. The galaxy watched in disbelief. No empire had ever fought for the weak. No power had ever freed slaves without demanding tribute in return. But humans were different. They were not building an empire of control. They were building something else, an alliance of the free news. Spread faster than any fleet. On hidden channels, messages echoed. The humans are coming. They bring freedom. For the Zorith, this was more dangerous than any battle. Fear could be crushed, but hope was harder to kill. And humanity was planting hope like fire in dry grass. The Emperor raged as reports poured in. Slave worlds lost. Garrisons destroyed. Races rising in rebellion. His voice thundered through the halls of his palace. They will learn.
You will.
All learn. I will crush every race that sides with them. But even as he raged, his empire weakened. For every planet he tried to retake, 2 more slipped away. His fleets were stretched thin. His soldiers faced enemies on every front. Meanwhile, humanity grew stronger. The freed races sent their warriors to fight beside human fleets. Varric swarms filled dropships. Real hunters guided human submarines through alien seas. Drakari fighters stood shoulder to shoulder with human marines. The galaxy was changing. The Empire of Fear was crumbling. On the bridge of the UN's Vengeance, the human admiral watched the map of Zoroth space. More and more systems turned from red to gray, no longer under the Empire's control. His words were calm, but every officer felt the weight of them. We are not here to destroy. We are here to end slavery. But the Emperor will not stop. And so neither will we. The next strike was already planned deep into the heart of Zoroth's space, closer to their core worlds than anyone had ever dared. Humanity was no longer just defending or freeing. Humanity was marching straight toward the throne of the Emperor himself. Across the stars, enslaved races prepared. The humans had shown them something greater than survival, had shown them dignity, and once dignity is given, it cannot be taken back. The storm grew darker. The fire spread wider. The galaxy was no longer asking if humanity could win. It was asking how far humanity would go, and the answer was simple, as far as needed. The Zorith Empire was bleeding. World after world slipped from its grasp. Chains broke, slaves rose, and everywhere the banners of humanity spread, joined by the symbols of freed species. But the Emperor was not finished. In the great war chamber of his palace, the Emperor stood before his generals. His armor gleamed black as night, his eyes burning with hatred. Around him, the holographic map of the galaxy glowed with scars of lost systems. They think they are strong, he growled. They think they can shame the Empire. But they are. Children playing with fire? I will gather everything. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon we have. And I will crush them in one blow. Orders spread like thunder. From every corner of the Empire, fleets were summoned. From shipyards, half-built cruisers were rushed into service. Slave soldiers were forced into ranks, millions upon millions. The Zorith were preparing not just for a battle, but for a war of extinction, and the galaxy trembled. Spies whispered of a fleet so vast, it blotted out the stars. Traders reported Zorath warships moving in endless lines across the void. Tire systems were turned into staging grounds. The target was clear. The Emperor would not waste his strength on small raids. He would strike at the heart of humanity's advance, the newly liberated worlds. If he could break the alliance there, hope would die. But Earth was ready. The human fleets had grown larger with every victory. Now they were no longer alone. The Varric swarms flew beside them, their insect ships fast and sharp. The real patrols swam through space in living vessels, guiding torpedoes with hunter's precision. The Drakari warbands roared with pride. There, scaled warriors eager for revenge. For the first time in history, dozens of enslaved races stood together not as victims, but as allies. And at the center of it all stood humanity. The spark that had lit the fire. The chosen battlefield was Corrin, the first world humanity had freed. The Zorith wanted to retake it, to show the galaxy that rebellion would not last. Humanity chose it for the same reason. The battle there would decide more than territory, it would decide the future of the stars. When the Zorith fleet arrived, the void turned black. Thousands of warships poured from hyperspace, their engines like burning suns. The sight was so massive that even the bravest allies felt their hearts sink. But then, human fleet appeared. From the far side of the system, human dreadnoughts led the charge, their hulls painted with names of Earth's history. Around them, Allied ships took position, forming a shield wall of fire and steel. The sky filled with banners of freedom. The Cums fell silent. Every soldier, every pilot, every commander knew what this moment meant. Admiral Rhea spoke from the bridge of the Un's vengeance. His voice was steady, calm, unshaken. They burned our envoy alive. They thought humanity would kneel. They thought the galaxy would stay in chains. Today we prove them wrong. Today we fight not for ourselves, but for every free world. Hold the line, do not break, for Earth, for freedom. The fleets collided. The void lit up with fire as thousands of weapons roared. Beams cut across the darkness. Missiles filled the stars like swarms of falling comets. Rail cannons thundered with the force of gods. The Zorith came with fury, waves upon waves of ships crashing against the Allied line. The humans answered with discipline, their fleets moving as one, covering every gap, striking with precision. The battle raged for hours. Entire moons shook as debris rained upon them. The oceans of Corrin boiled under the fire of fallen ships. Every moment was chaos. But within the chaos, the humans held. The Allies fought like never before. Varric swarms overwhelmed Zoroth frigates. Real hunters tore through cruisers with torpedo storms. Drakari warriors boarded enemy ships, their claws. Cutting through soldiers who had once enslaved them, the Emperor watched from the heart of his flagship, his fury growing with every lost vessel. He roared into the Cums, "Crush them! They are nothing." But for the first time, the Zoraphtai did not break their enemies. For the first time, the empires might met something stronger - unity. And in the middle of the storm, humanity stood unshaken. The battle was not finished. The outcome was not yet decided. But one truth was clear to all who fought and all who watched. The age of fear was ending. The galaxy had seen the Zoroth bleed. Now it was about to see if they could fall. The Battle of Corrin raged without pause. The sky burned with wreckage. Explosions shook the system like storms of fire. For every Zorath ship destroyed, another took its place. For every wave broken, another wave came crashing forward. But the humans and their allies did not break. On the Un's vengeance, Admiral Rhea stood calm among the chaos. His fleet had been fighting for 16 hours, yet the lines held. He saw the Zoroth fury, saw their endless ships. But he also saw something greater: unity. Humans, Varrics, Rill, Drakari, and dozens more. All fighting as one. It was something the Zorath could never understand. The Emperor watched from his colossal flagship. The Eternal Dominion, a fortress, larger than a city, bristling with weapons. From his throne of iron, he screamed across the Cums, "End them, crush their spirit. Humanity will burn." The Eternal Dominion moved into the heart of the fight, its guns tearing through Allied fleets. Dozens of ships fell under its barrage. Fear rippled across the lines. But Admiral Reyes only whispered, "It's time." From the far side of the system, new signals appeared. Another human fleet jumped into the battle, larger than any before. Hidden until this moment, it was Earth's final card. At its center was the dreadnought UN's Retribution, a ship built not just for war, but for judgment. The galaxy had never seen such a vessel. The fleets converged. Humanity's allies surged with renewed courage. The Varrics swarmed over enemy cruisers. Real drove torpedoes into the Zoroth flanks. Drakari boarding parties cut their way to enemy bridges, and the humans opened fire. Every gun, every missile, every rail cannon unleashed at once. The void turned white with light. Entire Zoroth lines disintegrated. The Empire's fleet, once unbreakable, but still, the Emperor fought on. His flagship carved a path of destruction, slaughtering anything in range. He laughed with rage, his voice shaking the Cums. "I am the Empire. You cannot kill me. You cannot kill fear." Reyes gave the final order. "All ships target the Dominion. End this." The Allies focused their fire. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath as thousands of weapons hammered into the Emperor's fortress. Shields cracked, armor burned. The great ship shook under the storm. Inside, the Emperor roared and refused to flee. His pride was too great, his rage too deep. "I will not fall to vermin," he screamed. But humanity had never been vermin. Humanity had always been survivors, fighters, builders, and now liberators. The Un's retribution charged its main cannon. A weapon hidden for centuries, designed for one purpose, the destruction of empires. Energy built like a rising sun, bright enough to blind the void. "Fire," Reyes commanded. The beam tore through space, pure light and fury combined. It struck the Eternal Dominion with unstoppable force. Armor shattered, decks collapsed, explosions ripped through the colossal ship. For a moment, it fought to hold together. For a moment, the Emperor's scream echoed across the coms. And then, silence. The Eternal Dominion broke apart, a dying star scattering across the void. The Emperor was gone. The Zorith fleet wavered, their pride shattered, their will broken. One by one, their ships fled, scattering into the darkness. What had once been an empire of fear was now a storm of broken fragments. The battle was over. The galaxy changed that day. On Corrin, freed slaves stood under the burning sky and wept with joy. On distant worlds, chains were thrown down and banners of freedom were raised. For the first time in centuries, hope was not whispered in secret. It was shouted across the stars. Humanity did not claim the throne of the Zorith. They did not build an empire. Instead, they built something new, a council of free worlds, where every race had a voice, where no one would kneel again. The humans had entered the galaxy with words of peace. The Zoroth burned their envoy alive. The Empire thought it had silenced them. Instead, it had awakened the storm that destroyed it. The last message from Admiral Reyes was broadcast across every star system. His voice was calm, steady, unshaken. "We are not your masters. We are not your conquerors. We are your allies. The age of fear is over. The age of freedom begins." And so it was. From one burning man, the galaxy had been remade. Humanity had shown its full power, and the stars would never forget.